Mr. Chairman, you have your quorum.
Good morning, and we'll call to order the meeting of the Regional Transportation Commission of Southern Nevada.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the Commission, the agenda is in order. However, due to time constraints, we'd like to recommend that we take item number 2, which is the General Manager's Report, and move that right behind item 58. So that would be right before citizens' participation and right after item 58.
Okay, with that change, I'd entertain a motion. Motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Your next item of action is to deal with the consent agenda, which is made up of items 3 through 57 and may be taken in one motion.
Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, before we vote, on agenda item 3, I believe approval of minutes. I'll have to let the record reflect I'll be abstaining as I was not present for that meeting.
Very good.
Thank you. Thank you. That's correct. We do need to take item number 3, approval of the minutes, before we deal with the consent agenda.
Oh, so. Motion on the floor for the approval of the minutes. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? That motion carries with Councilman Ross abstaining.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now we go to your consent agenda, which is made up of items 4 through 57.
For no comments or questions, I'll move for the approval of the consent agenda. Motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the Commission, we now go to item 58, which is to appoint a new member to the RTC's Finance Committee. And the current members of that committee include Chairman Larry Brown and Commissioner Roger Tobler from Boulder City. Now, Commissioner Maxfield used to be on this committee. We've had the membership at 3, and we would like to have at least one additional committee member so that we can have a quorum. And we have these committee meetings every year before, as part of our budget development process. So we're open to interest from one or more members to serve on this committee. It's usually 1 or 2 meetings per year.
Very good. I have not spoken to Mayor Tobler, so we can certainly come back if he chooses not to want to serve. But for the current time, he'll be part of the motion. And I would move to appoint Commissioner June Cigliani and Councilman Ross to that committee. And Mr. Kaplan, as an aside, if other members of the board wish to come to the posted meeting for the Finance Committee, are they welcome to?
Yeah, they can, certainly any of them can come. It's going to be a publicly noticed meeting.
That would be my motion. Comments or questions? Motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the Commission, we now go to the General Manager's Report. And if we can bring that up. It is up on the screen in front of you. We can go to that next slide. The first thing I'd like to report is an honor that your Deputy General Manager, Tina Quigley, to my left, received. We know that Tina is a dynamic, energetic, and enthusiastic ambassador of the Commission and the agency. We know that because it's written right here in my script. It must be true.
Thank you, Jackie, Tracy.
In Business recently named Tina one of the women to watch in Southern Nevada. Tina was named for the agency's vision and your plans to speed up transit service with the ACE Rapid Transit System and for her extensive philanthropic work in the community. So we congratulate Tina on the honor. Very proud of her. Your next slide shows our ridership increase over 2008 in 2008 over 2007. We went up more than 3 million passengers. And we think that we're very thrilled about that. We came across some statistics from the Federal Transit Administration recently that compare us against other transit companies throughout the country. And one of the major sources of efficiency that we use is the number of boardings passengers per hour. So we can go to the next slide, please. The national average is 30 passengers per hour, and the RTC average is 45 passengers per hour. That's testament to your transit staff and your contractors who work to ensure that the system is as efficient as possible. When we look at that a little bit closer, we can take a look at the next slide, please. The route that has the highest passengers per service hour, of course, is the Deuce on the Strip at almost 80 passengers per hour. The Max is second at almost 75, and from there, Maryland Parkway, Flamingo, Tropicana, Bonanza, and Boulder Highway. Busiest routes by ridership, the Deuce on the Strip is over 12 million now. Maryland Parkway very close to 5 million, as well as Flamingo, Charleston at 4 million, and Tropicana at 3.6 million. In 2007, the RTC ranked nationally 20th in the nation in terms of total ridership, using only 253 vehicles during our peak hour deployment. Now, the system that was right ahead of us in total ridership is Portland, Oregon, and they use 532 vehicles, and they carried just 3,000 more passengers than we did. We think that's a real testament to the success that we have here. And just by my own personal note, I looked at Salt Lake City, who now has 3 lines of light rail and twice as many buses as we do, but they don't carry even as many people as we carry on our bus system. So we're moving a lot of people down here in southern Nevada on transit. What that breaks down to is that in 2007, every RTC vehicle carried almost 250,000 people. That exceeds such agencies as San Francisco Muni, New York City Metropolitan Transit Authority, Metro in Los Angeles, and the CTA in Chicago, which we were very surprised to see that, but we're very pleased to see it. On another efficiency note, we've been able to reduce our overtime thanks to some diligent work from our assistant general managers and our division directors. Overtime is down significantly this year. About 25% of the RTC staff members are now exempt from overtime, and that is helping us to minimize overtime expenses. We anticipate that overtime this year will be less than half of last year's total. And one of the reasons for that I need to make sure the Commission is aware of is that due to regulations that were passed by the federal government last year, we will be prevented from operating our service to the NASCAR races, as well as other similar types of service that we're asked to do frequently from various groups in the community, to go out and perform what would be considered charter or specialized services. It's anything that's a special service that we don't operate on a regular basis. And so we are actually prevented by regulation from doing that service this year, and we wanted to make sure that the Commission was aware of that and that the public is aware of that as well. Yes, sir.
Mayor.
What kind of regulation is that? Because we really rely on many of these events for the RTC to provide the buses.
They were the charter regulations that were put out last year by the Federal Transit Administration. I know Zev Kaplan is very familiar with those. There are very limited services that you actually can direct us to continue to provide in that area. There are a certain amount of hours that can be used for political purposes, and that's about it. We can't, anything that we could do that's a special service that could be provided by the private sector is considered a charter service, and now the government is preventing us from using our buses, which are partially paid for with federal funds, from performing those types of services.
Even for charitable agencies?
Even for charitable agencies.
Mr. Chair? Mr. Chairman?
I'm sorry, Councilman.
Mr. Snow, what about extended routes and normal operation out to the Speedway and special events?
Zeb, do you want to deal with that one? We are allowed to do special event service where we would extend a route, such as what we do on the Tropicana route to go out for the football games. And that's a little bit of a different animal than what we're talking about with the service that we have to go all the way out to the Speedway and back for in a very concentrated fashion. If we're going to keep the same schedule and frequency and just extend a route, we can do that. But we can't pour 50 or 60 buses onto an extended route and call it an extended route.
You knew where I was going with that, though.
Yes, sir, I did.
It has to be a part of our published schedule and rate, normal rates. You can't have a premium rate, can't be sponsored by some group. There are, though, certain social service organizations that are included in the HHS list of organizations or agencies that receive funding through the federal government that are eligible for certain services still, as well as Jacob pointed out, public officials that may be visiting or amongst yourselves locally that can be transported. There's a set aside of a certain number of hours that can be used for those purposes. But in terms of NASCAR, which is our, has been the major source of special service here, that is precluded as long as there's ready, willing, and able private charter bus operators willing to provide the service. And that is the case. Actually, Coach America, Coach USA is providing the service this year. They were selected by the Speedway as their primary carrier.
Can you tell me about the politician's use of the bus? Could I have my own bus? And if I can't have my own bus, for how long can I have it? Do I have to pay fare? I'd like all those questions answered, and I'd like to make a formal written memo.
Okay.
Commissioner.
Thank you. I think I understand, so they did basically a non-compete clause is kind of what they're talking about. But I remember years ago when I was first working in the legislature to try to let the school districts purchase bus passes, we could not establish a bus route specifically at a school site because it would have jeopardized our funding, if I'm not correct?
That's
So
correct. And that's,
we're in proximity in most of them now, but you could not have established that route. So it was a similar type of activity, I think, even back in those days.
and that's a
but-
separate regulation that prohibits that, but it's similar in nature.
Okay, thank you.
On the same subject, Mr. Kaplan, it says if it's ready and willing and able to supply the service. You don't know what's going to happen with the race this year as far as the economy, and if we find that they're unable, the private sector, are unable to meet the demands or the expectations from the public, are we then allowed to perhaps look for next year's ability?
There's a formal process that's been established. There's a website, and the private operators register, and you publish a notice on there of the event and the intent. And if any of them respond saying they are willing and ready, willing, and able, then you're precluded as the public agency from providing the service. We have this year, in working with the Speedway, had an arrangement where we have a contingent contract, in essence, or an availability contract with Coach America, which you've approved today, that if on Sunday, the final day, historically has been the time there are not available coaches, we will be providing through Coach USA the available coaches and drivers so that there will be the transportation available. We just can't do that directly.
Okay. So we're essentially a subcontractor,
Correct.
and we're being paid for that.
Yeah.
Please, Mayor Goodman.
These are great numbers in your report. They really are very, very impressive. Imagine if we had synchronized lights, how much they would be improved.
I've got a very healthy, creative imagination, so I can see that. And we're going to talk to you a little bit about that in just a few moments.
Mr. Snow, if we could save a lot of aggravation if you could look into the costs of a dedicated monorail from Scotch 80s to downtown. One seat dedicated monorail.
Give him the. Be fine by me.
Please continue.
Okay. The stimulus bill update, it changes by the half hour, but we have been told that here, we have some details of the conference agreement, which was worked out yesterday. And for the total amount of the bill, we're looking at $789.5 billion. And of that, $29 billion will go throughout the country to the states for roadways. And according to my calculations, and Director Martinovich can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's, for Nevada, we're looking at about $203 million based upon that figure. And most of that money will go to the Nevada Department of Transportation. Under the rules for the distribution of this money under the formula called the Surface Transportation Program formula, we anticipate that about roughly close to $40 million, somewhere in that neighborhood, will come to this commission to prioritize. And there is a requirement in this bill that we have at least half of that amount under contract within, I believe it's 120 days. And so that's essentially use it or lose it money. And since $40 million is really not enough to do big projects, so that we can expend this money expeditiously and equitably, we're working with all of the public works directors from the entities to distribute that for roadway rehabilitation projects that are already designed, the right-of-way is there, and there's an environmental clearance so that we can get these projects underway. We do have to enter into what's called a stewardship agreement with the state to make sure that all the federal requirements are complied with. We'd like to do that under one master agreement with appendices for each of the entities that would describe the individual projects. And so all of the Public Works folk and NDOT are working on this list so that we can move. We've actually been working on this list for quite some time now. And we're excited about the prospects of this bill passing. I did hear just about a half an hour ago that there were plans for the House of Representatives to pass this conference report today, and I believe that may slip until tomorrow. And if it does, it may not get to the Senate by tomorrow, and they may not get it passed by the President's Day weekend. They'd hope to have that to the President on his desk for signature on Monday. I guess there's a press conference that Speaker Pelosi has called for 3 p.m. this afternoon to talk about it. They've got some opposition from Republicans in the House who felt like they didn't have an opportunity to even see what was in the conference report. So, like I said, it changes every half hour, but it's not passed yet, and we're hopeful that it will get passed expeditiously. There is $8.4 billion for transit. That's the figure that came from the Senate side. The amount that was passed by the House was $12 billion. So that is going to be less than what we had hoped for on the transit side. And we think that may be in the network of $20 to $25 million. If so, that's not going to be enough to complete the Henderson ACE rapid transit system. We had hoped to have enough money to do that. So we'll have to take a look at how we would put that bid package out with maybe some alternates. And as we go forward, the nice thing about the transit money is that money comes directly to us. There's no stewardship agreement required for it. So that money we feel very confident we can expend and get obligated very, very quickly. And that's what I know about that, and it'll
Mr.
probably change in a half an hour.
Mr. Chairman? Just a couple comments to reiterate on what Jacob said, is that in regards to the timing is also what we're hearing is that after the bill is passed, the money will be sent to the local Federal Highway Administration, so our administration in Carson City within 7 days for us to obligate against. And so we think very realistically we could have projects actually starting construction in 90 days between the work that you all have and the work that the department has. We're also looking at pavement preservation projects and projects statewide in variety of other areas too, and some types of enhancement projects, utility type of projects, again with the emphasis of putting the most people back to work. There's also another criteria in the reporting criteria that would be part of that. We've heard that from the Federal Highway Administration as well as from our legislature. They've been asking questions on this, and the reporting of how many people we actually are putting to work and how quickly the money is spent will be a critical component of this bill also. Thank you.
Councilman Ross?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for discussion purposes, and Director Martinovich, Mr. Snow, either one of you can take this. What kind of discussion would we be having today if we didn't have this stimulus package? I mean, where would we be if we didn't have this to look forward to?
I think we'd be about a year behind. Essentially what we're getting with the $203 million in Director Martinovich can correct me if I'm wrong, is pretty close to what the state receives over a year's allocation from the Highway Trust Fund?
That's exactly. Our yearly federal allocation is approximately $230, $240 million in the different categories. The benefit or the beauty of this money is that it isn't restrained in those categories. The only eligibility is that it has to be on roadways or projects that would otherwise be federally eligible to receive federal monies, as well as the NEPA requirement has to be done and the right-of-way certification. So it's just a little bit less, and so as Mr. Snow indicates, that we've got a big influx of money, and the beauty of this is that we're still waiting for our '09 appropriation, and once that comes, we can really send projects out, and then '10. So you have 3 waves of projects that we're pretty excited to get out and keep contractors moving forward.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, it'd be nice to see some employment numbers that might come along with those projects and those
We're going to have to
jobs.
track that.
That would be
and report it.
nice to see for the public to recognize what's happening and how this is going to affect Southern Nevada.
I think we're looking at, for the state, just in transportation, maybe 20,000 jobs from this or more. But I wanted to let the board know that one of the good things about this bill is it is 100% federally funded. We don't have to come up with a local match. Normally, we have to come up with 20% of the cost, and that's another good thing about this bill.
Mayor Goodman?
Can anybody tell me how the money is allocated? Is it on a population base? How is it determined that we get X amount of dollars?
I'll go ahead, or that is exactly what it is the portion that goes to the state, about 60% will go to the state, and we plan to use it in coordination with the local MPOs with working with Jacob and then Washoe County, as well as statewide. I have to look statewide. The other portion does have an allocation from what we've seen, Jacob, and maybe you've seen something different, is a certain section would need to be used on areas greater than 200,000, then between 5,000 and 200,000, and a portion for areas right around the 5,000. How much that is, we haven't seen any specific percentages, but I think it does cover the region here and the region north.
But how is it determined that we get X amount of dollars?
It's formula-based funded, based on population of the state. It's our regular federal allocations, which is based on population of the state, based on the rapid growth that the state has, based on federal lands, based on the urban concentrations, and a variety of other criteria.
Thank you.
One more comment, Mr. Chairman, if I may. I just want to point out that as this money trickles through the state, and in regards to employment numbers and suppliers and projects, it's reinvested time and time again. And it's important to recognize that those public tax dollars are being reinvested right back into the state's economy. And I just want to make a comment about that.
Commissioner June Cigliani?
Thank you. I think everybody pretty much covered everything I was going to mention. When we do the reporting, though, to both the state and the feds, will that, on the number of jobs, will indicate private sector as well as public sector so that we can show that it's affecting both and impacting both?
I don't think there's any requirement in the law to show.
Segregate that?
To segregate that.
Okay.
And I don't know the answer of how
And it
we-
might be difficult to do, so maybe that's probably why they didn't. But you could say we're laying paving on road X, and 15 people that were supposed to be laid off because this company rolled back people are now employed. I mean, is that what to the depth that they're going to be looking for?
I think they're just looking for total jobs created at this point. And I don't know, we'll have to wait and see how much detail they're going to ask us to put into the website and into the reports.
And then, is there a sustainability on those jobs expected at some point? Especially if you get your final allocation, then you've got a 3-year window, it sounds like. So we could actually have an expectation of some jobs that are going on longer than a 1-year period, which I think would be better for the economy as well. Okay. Thank you.
We appreciate Susan Martinovich's cooperation on this. She's been very good to work with, as usual.
And I'd just like to add, I know that the state and the RTC has done a lot of work in coordination as far as the member agencies, but if we could go back to our respective agencies and make sure procedurally, if the respective county and cities have to do anything as far as resolutions or take action items, that not be the element that slows any of this down. I think it would also be helpful as quickly as this seems to be moving now, that we're in a position to be able to, from the state perspective and the RTC, to publicly promote and make the citizens aware of exactly where this money's going to what projects. I think that would give us great credibility in being ready to spend as quickly as anybody in the country. As we saw earlier at the Flood Control District, we're ready. We have projects in the mix, designed, entitled, and funding is the issue. And I'm sure from the same perspective from the transportation area, that if we can have those projects ready to go and out, it's going to build, again, the credibility of the public agency side being able to implement all this. Please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. The next part of the General Manager's report is to receive an update on your freeway and arterial system of transportation. It's going to be a very colorful presentation. I can promise you that. Blue and gold is the new green, so it's going to be that at least. I'd like to introduce our director for that system, Mr. Glenn Grayson, to make that report. Glenn?
Thank you, Mr. Snow. This is my first opportunity to appear before the Commission to give you a report on FAST, and I'm very pleased to be here. FAST, as you know, is a service provider. We provide traffic signal coordination services to our 4 local entities, and then we're also providing services to NDOT for the freeway management system. Today I'm going to cover some of our accomplishments in the past year and also some of the outlook for the future year. Of course, our core mission is to provide traffic signal coordination. And in each year, we retain the services of a consultant to help us out with that on a focused basis in a small area of the community. In 2008, we've now completed retiming in the northeast area. We're currently underway in the current year with retiming in the UNLV area. And our focus next year potentially is going to be in this southwest area of town. Now, in addition to providing these intensive retiming efforts for just these areas, there are many other things that we do in the area of signal retiming. One is that we literally make hundreds of adjustments, fine-tuning adjustments, on all of our major commuter routes through the valley in order to make peak hour commute flows optimal and provide an equal and better opportunity to move traffic during peak hours. In a lot of cases, it's quicker for travelers to travel 12 or 15 miles on the arterials than on the freeway system currently. Another aspect of this is that we're assisting and coordinating with NDOT on their I-15 North Design Build project. They came up with the design builder came up with a revised strategy that reduced the number of freeway lanes from 6 to 4. That was a sort of a late change in the project. The result was that a lot of traffic got diverted to arterials that was not already there, and so we scrambled to retime a whole lot of the central area for that activity. And then, of course, we also do special retiming for special events and so forth. A project that we have just now completed is the implementation of the adaptive traffic control system on Boulder Highway. At this 10 intersections on Boulder Highway, we've got a new system installed that modifies the coordination timing at each intersection on a cycle-by-cycle basis. We're in the process now of doing an evaluation on that to see if the benefits are worth the cost and to see if that's a system that we want to expand to other areas of the city. One of the most important elements of our services and the systems that support it are the communications. A few years ago, we had a fairly meager implementation of fiber optic cabling, which is the sort of the gold standard for data communications nationwide. We've made great strides in that area, and today you can see that our fiber optic network is far more enhanced. RTC itself has taken an important role in this, in that we're doing a couple of furnish and install projects to greatly increase the number of miles of fiber optic installed. NDOT is also doing its part on equipping its freeways with intelligent transportation systems, both the devices and fiber optic communications. And you can see the various projects that they've got either completed or in current sections of planning. The Beltway is also an important freeway for the valley, and we're working with the county to identify the appropriate ITS elements to deploy there and find the funding in order to get that implemented as well. An important aspect of our freeway service to NDOT that we rolled out in late 2008 is the travel times postings. We've got this activated on the resort corridor right now, and as we get more areas of the valley equipped with dynamic message signs and also the freeway flow detectors that are necessary to provide the data to the expert system that calculates those travel times, we'll be expanding that to more freeways in the valley. So you can see in this slide the added DMSs that are planned. A recent survey that was taken of the public revealed that nearly all people recognize and respond favorably to these new travel times, and we think this is by far the most pervasive and extensive outreach to the public that we're providing in the way of traveler information at the current time. So we're very pleased with this result. Another important aspect of that service on the freeways is the ramp metering system. Although not 90%, 81% think that they're very useful, and that's quite a bit higher than national average, I would say. And I think it's due to the fact that we did a very big marketing outreach on that effort and got people to understand the benefits of ramp metering in order to retain the good flow on the freeways. So in regard to the partnership that we have with Nevada DOT, we're reaching the end of our first partnership agreement with them, the 3-year agreement to provide freeway management system services on contract to the NDOT. And we're working on an extension of that now. Director Martinovich has directed that we work on a 4-year extension that would cover the next 2 state budget cycles. One of the important aspects of that is that NDOT is going to be requiring, and we're certainly welcoming the opportunity to provide more performance measurement of the freeway system in order to justify the expense that's there and also to explain to the public how the benefits of freeway management are helping them. Another aspect of our partnership with not only NDOT but also all of the emergency responders in the valley is the Traffic Incident Management Coalition, an important project that NDOT is conducting with the goal of improving the clearance times on the freeway so that we can get back to a more reliable freeway system more quickly. In the technology area, you already know about several of the accomplishments that FAST has made over the past year or two, but in the future we're planning some additional enhancements. Just this week we turned on the freeway flow conditions color coding on our website maps so that you'll be able to see the green, yellow, reds on the freeway system to correspond to how traffic is flowing. We're also working on the capability to do email blast and text messaging blast to cell phones in order to alert the public on a subscription basis, a free subscription at the current time, to let them know about incidents on the freeway before they start their trip and maybe avoid a congested situation.
Mr. Chair, why don't you elaborate on that a little bit if you would?
Okay. Right now, anytime we post a message on a dynamic message sign on the freeway, internally we have an email system that we notify a bunch of key people here in the agency that something unusual has happened. So it would be a recapitulation of the incident and where it happened and the effect on the freeway flow. We're intending to take that public beyond just the agency and allow the public to sign up for receiving that information as well, so that anytime an incident message is posted on a DMS, you'll be able to get it on your cell phone.
Are you there yet for the public to be able to do that?
We're working on it and with our communications department, and I suspect that it'll be operational within a month.
I'd hate to see drivers in traffic checking their emails on their handhelds as they're driving down the freeway.
Yeah.
But that
The
thought didn't
intention
come
would
to
be
mind.
for pre-trip planning, I guess, yeah. And then similar to the video feeds that we currently provide to the local TV stations, Trafficland, a national provider for traffic cams, is also in discussions with us to gain our video feeds in order to provide that information nationally to anybody who signs onto their site. On the arterial management system side, this is, again, our core mission, I think. We're trying to do some things to help our clients, our local entities, do a better job of using the tool and making better use of it to manage their own resources. So we're intending to install additional jurisdictional management centers that have a more fully fledged connection to our system at both the Las Vegas and the City of Henderson's traffic signal shops. We're also about to get a JMC installed at UNLV so that they can use it for research purposes and also to help train the next generation of traffic engineers. And then we're also working on getting coordination and the sphere of control of our system out to outlying areas beyond just the valley. So we've got a contract now to get the communications between here and Primm connected and put those 3 intersections online so that the county traffic management people will be able to monitor those intersections. As soon as the county gets their fiber project done on Casino Drive in Laughlin, we'll be able to hook those up and provide coordination services there. And we're also in discussions with Mesquite on being able to provide some services to them. So in summary, I guess I think we're doing a great job, humbly. But we do provide traffic management services to our clients, our 4 local entities, and we're very pleased to be a partner with NDOT. And, you know, I think with deference to the mayor saying he's got the best job in the valley, I think I do, because I've got a dedicated and talented staff that have a real passion for this, and we're able to focus on just this one main mission of improving the traffic mobility.
Questions? Commissioner June Cigliani?
Thank you.
Then
Could
Mayor
you just
Goodman?
elaborate a little bit more on what a jurisdictional management center is?
Yes. Our traffic management system at the TMC, and that first slide showed you the big video
Right.
wall, and I'm sure all of you have been out there to see it. That capability can be downsized to just a PC,
Okay.
so that the local entity can have the full interaction with communicating with their signals, identifying issues with
If there's a backing up, it can then make a
communications.
shift to the lights, correct? Or something
Correct,
along
yes.
those
So
lines,
the,
okay.
so the traffic signal system that's in operation manages all of those traffic signals in the valley. In the jurisdiction, then they can take their own little entree to the system, basically, and without investing anything themselves, they've got the capability to interact and see all of their own signals and make timing adjustments themselves if they want to.
Okay, would
Now,
that
they defer the timing adjustments for coordination to FAST,
Okay.
but they still have to maintain the minimum green times, the walk times, the yellow clear times, and so forth.
Okay, so it doesn't have a domino effect, because you wouldn't want that to have to occur if somebody makes an adjustment that over.
Right.
Okay.
The
And that's
benefit
where
of
those little
having the
cameras
regional
are, like on-
coordination
yeah.
is that we're in control of the traffic flow along the arterial.
Okay, so that's what those little cameras are doing that are up on like Maryland Parkway and so forth, and for the signals? is watching
Correct. Those are
on that?
detectors for the local
Okay.
intersection.
And then where would I find what your contract amount is? Is that in a different, it's not something we're looking at today, but is that,
Our contract with NDOT,
right?
right now, we receive a stipend of around $918,000 per year. That's for the first 3 years agreement. We're looking at a pretty significant increase in the next agreement that we're working on. It depends on how much they're able to get the legislature to approve,
Right.
but it needs to be more because we've got a lot more freeway ITS to support. US 95 is about to come online,
Exactly.
and also I-15 North. Both of those projects will be active and under our control fairly soon.
And that
So
way, if you're able to do a 4-year contract, that gives you a better opportunity probably to spread those dollars out, I would think. Okay, thank you.
Mayor Goodman.
Mr. Grayson, thank you very much for the report. Mr. Snow and myself have this banter going on for the past almost 10 years concerning the green lights. He tells me they're green all the time, and I tell him they're red all the time, but I think I have to give credit where it's due. There's no question that the freeway signage is really remarkable how accurate it is. I drive the freeway frequently, and the signs are very, very accurate as far as how long it's going to take to go from place to place. That's very, very helpful. I'm going to give you an anecdotal report. You do with it whatever you want. You can go right into the toilet, or you can store it in your mind. Charleston's good as far as green lights and synchronization. Rancho is probably the best as far as synchronization. Sahara is the worst. Now, I know why. That's why I figured it out in your presentation today. In the city of Las Vegas, whenever there's a project, they always start in my neighborhood. And make sure that the mayor's pleased. Here, is that correct? Is that correct? Thank you. Here, it doesn't seem like you're really concentrating on my neighborhood as far as green lights are concerned. So if you would meet with Commissioner Brown, of course, he knows exactly where I live, and I'm sure he'll share that information with you, and you'll be able to please me. I do appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, we hope that you're successful in keeping your job as mayor for a long time because you can't have Mr. Grayson's job.
actually, I would like to comment that your help in the past to identify the nature of the problem and the necessity to fix it has actually been helpful.
Well, that's good. You know, I kid about it a lot, but it has certainly improved. I can't figure out why when cars are coming on the side street that it just stops the system from working. The lights change almost automatically. If there was a way that we could overcome that, I'm not sure there is. When you drive at a certain, I guess when I go about 45, I can just zip right down Charleston, zip right down Rancho at that speed. It's good speed. It's just a speed limit speed. If I go any faster than that, I run into the red lights.
And
Fix the Sahara and make me a happy camper.
Councilman Bennett?
I was going to make a comment. You've got 8 and then the question mark on Mesquite. We actually have, I think, 8 functioning, but I know that we've got 2 more that have met the requirements here recently that we'll be installing. And then I think there's probably another couple next year that we'll be looking at really closely as well by the overpass and so forth. But just that comment, and then I just want to, as the mayor's walking out,
I'm not walking out on you, I'm walking out.
no. The comment about the JMCs, they're basically computers that are put into these different areas. Maybe you could look and see about putting a computer monitoring possibly at his home or somewhere.
That actually was suggested by Mr. Kaplan in a note to me during the presentation that I should ask you if I were to call while leaving my house, could you turn all the lights on?
And this is from a man who is developing federal travel policy right now, so. And Mr. Grayson, if I could ask, would you be available or your team be available to offer some tours of FAST, the facility itself, for the board members? If we could
Absolutely.
coordinate that?
We'd be delighted to. We give a great tour. Happy to do that. It's a very impressive facility.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. That concludes the general manager's report, and your next item is citizens' participation.
Is there anyone wishing to speak to the commission this morning? Please come forward, state your name and address. Thank you all. Seeing no one, please step forward.
My name is Vincent Marsh. I'm a resident in Sumner. I want to know, Rally 204 don't go down to the town center. I got to walk from Grand Canyon to town center every day.
Okay. Vincent, if you would, right after the meeting, we'll have a staff member discuss this issue with you. The board can't take any action, but Mr. Snow will certainly meet with you right after the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, yes, I'm here because since the construction on Stewart has moved the buses to an alternate route on Ogden, I believe it would be much better if they kept the route on Ogden instead of on Stewart. Now, I don't know if you are aware of this or not, but it is dark and very gloomy on Stewart, on 7th Street. They found 2 people dead at this bus stop, and one of them had his throat cut. Now, on Ogden, it is very well lit, and also the El Cortez has outside security at their parking garage on 7th and Ogden, which makes it very, very much safer for people that are going to work early in the morning. They don't have to worry about being mugged or being killed, is like what happened on 7th and Stewart. Now, what I would like to see is keep it on Ogden instead of moving it back to Stewart after all the construction is finished.
And would you mind, I appreciate those comments, would you mind putting your name on the record?
Putting my name on the record?
Yes.
Oh, sure.
State your name.
My name is Charles DeSerio.
Okay.
I've lived in Las Vegas for 40 years. I've ridden the bus quite a bit. I also had my own transportation in the past, but as I became older, I figure I shouldn't be, driving. So this is the reason why I ride the transportation buses.
Okay.
I hope you will understand, what the point that I'm trying to get across to
And we'll
you.
have that addressed right after the meeting. If we'll get your name, we'll have someone come over and talk to you. We have representatives from the RTC and the City of Las Vegas here. So thank you for coming down this morning. We appreciate your comments.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Also, that project, I don't know what all off-sites the city's putting in, so there may actually be, because he's absolutely correct. I drive Stewart on a regular basis, and it is extremely dark in comparison to the Ogden site. And there's quite a few, actually, housing along that area. You got the John E. Carson, the old Lee Motel, and various other places where there's a lot of senior citizens that reside there, so.
I know we have the right people in the room that are aware of that one. Anyone else wishing to speak to the commission? Seeing no one, this meeting is adjourned.